I always thought I knew what family meant. Blood, loyalty, sacrifice. That's what my parents drilled into me my entire life. Family first, they'd say. And I believed them. For 28 years, I believed them. I worked 3 jobs through college to avoid student loans, lived in a cramped studio apartment eating ramen while my friends enjoyed their 20s. For 6 years, I saved every penny for my dream wedding. $60,000. My parents held the money in their account, for safekeeping, they said. 2 weeks before my engagement party, I found out the truth. My sister needed a down payment for her house, and my wedding fund was gone, just like that. $60,000 of my hard-earned money vanished. "It's just a party," my mother said when I confronted her. "Your sister needs a home." What happened next at our family gathering changed everything. Not just my wedding plans, but my entire understanding of family, loyalty, and what I was willing to sacrifice for people who saw me as nothing more than their backup plan. Growing up in suburban Connecticut, I was always the responsible one. Emma Taylor, eldest daughter of Robert and Diane Taylor, straight-A student, varsity soccer captain, and perpetual peacekeeper. My younger sister Melissa was the opposite, spontaneous, creative, and my parents' clear favorite, though they'd never admit it. Dad's an accountant, Mom teaches 3rd grade, and our family life revolved around achieving the American dream: house with a white picket fence, college education, stable career. "Security is everything," my father would lecture while balancing the family budget at our kitchen table every Sunday night. When I was 12, I won a state science competition. My parents missed the ceremony because Melissa had a minor dance recital the same day. "Your sister needs the encouragement more than you do," Mom explained, while I clutched my first-place ribbon alone on our front porch. This became the pattern. My achievements acknowledged with a nod, Melissa's celebrated with parties and Facebook posts. During my sophomore year of high school, I was nominated for homecoming court, a big deal at Oak Ridge High. That same week, Melissa made the JV cheerleading squad. My parents hosted a barbecue for her, but forgot to drive me to the homecoming parade. I ended up taking the bus, arriving late and disheveled in my borrowed dress. The photos from that day show everyone else with their proud parents, while I stood alone, trying to smile through the humiliation. Despite this, I remained determined to earn their approval. I chose accounting, like Dad, instead of journalism, which I loved. I dated boys they approved of, attended the local state college they selected, and lived at home to save money while Melissa got an apartment near her art school in Boston. When I met James at 22, something changed in me. He was the first person who seemed to see me, really see me, not as the reliable daughter or the responsible sister, but as Emma. He encouraged me to start writing again, to pursue the dreams I'd abandoned to please my parents. With his support, I landed a job at a small publishing house and finally moved out of my parents' house. That's when I made a decision. I wanted a dream wedding, not because I cared about some extravagant party, but because for once in my life, I wanted something that was entirely mine, entirely about my happiness. I opened a separate savings account and started putting away every extra dollar. "Why not use that money for a down payment?" my father suggested when I told my parents about my wedding fund. "Real estate is a better investment than one day of celebration." But I stood firm. For 6 years, I saved $60,000, enough for the vineyard venue I'd fallen in love with, the small but elegant reception, the honeymoon in Greece. James and I planned to add his savings for the down payment on a house after we returned. When James proposed last spring, my parents offered to transfer my wedding fund into their joint account. "The interest rate is better," Dad insisted, "and we'll add a little something to it as our gift." Against my better judgment, I agreed. The grand gesture that would finally prove I mattered as much as Melissa. Little did I know that my wedding fund would become the family secret that would tear us all apart. 2 weeks before our engagement party, I stopped by my parents' house to discuss the venue deposit. Mom was baking her signature lemon squares for Sunday dinner, a Taylor family tradition where extended family gathered to catch up over pot roast and passive-aggressive comments. "About that wedding fund," Dad said, adjusting his glasses the way he always did when uncomfortable. "We need to discuss something." Mom suddenly became very interested in her lemon zest. "What's wrong?" I asked, my stomach dropping. "Is the money okay?" "The money is allocated elsewhere at the moment," Dad replied, using his accountant voice. "Temporarily." That's when Melissa burst through the front door, waving a set of keys. "I got it! The Colonial on Maple Street! Mom, Dad, I can't believe it!" The pieces clicked together before anyone spoke another word. My sister's flushed, triumphant face. My father's averted eyes. My mother's sudden interest in baking. "You gave her my wedding money for a house down payment?" I said flatly. The silence in the kitchen confirmed everything. "Not gave," Dad finally said. "Loaned. She'll pay it back before your wedding." "My wedding is in 6 months," I whispered. "We can postpone," Mom suggested, not looking up from her lemon squares. "Fall weddings are lovely too, or next spring." I learned that Melissa's art gallery was struggling. The house was an investment opportunity she couldn't miss. My parents had every intention of replacing the money, but needed time. "It's just a party, Emma," my mother added, patting my hand condescendingly. "Your sister needs a home." I left in a daze, unable to process what had happened. When I told James, he was furious, not about the wedding, but about the betrayal. "This isn't about money," he said, holding me while I cried. "This is about them never seeing you." The Sunday dinner arrived with tension thick enough to cut with the carving knife Dad used on the pot roast. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone was there, including Grandma Rose, who'd flown in from Arizona. Melissa brought her boyfriend Tyler, who worked in real estate and had found her the perfect starter home. Throughout dinner, my parents beamed as Melissa described the house's crown molding and backyard potential. "We close next week," she announced. "It happened so fast. Thank God Mom and Dad could help with the down payment." Grandma Rose turned to me. "And how are the wedding plans coming, dear? That vineyard you mentioned sounds lovely." I felt James squeeze my hand under the table. "Actually," I began, but Mom quickly interrupted. "We're considering some new venues," she said brightly. "The vineyard had some scheduling issues." Aunt Sarah, always perceptive, noticed my expression. "Emma, is everything all right?" I opened my mouth to speak, but Dad cleared his throat. "Let's talk about happy things. Melissa, tell everyone about those built-in bookshelves." As coffee and dessert were served, my phone pinged with a text. It was from the vineyard. "Final deposit due in 48 hours, or we'll release your date." I excused myself to the bathroom, leaning against the sink, trying to breathe. 6 years of saving. 6 years of sacrifice. Gone. When I returned, everyone was gathered around Melissa's phone, looking at photos of her new house. My house, purchased with my wedding fund. "We should toast," Mom announced, raising her glass, "to new beginnings and family helping family." Everyone raised their glasses, even James, though his eyes remained on me, concerned. "Family helping family," they echoed. Something snapped inside me. 6 years of being overlooked. 28 years of coming second. A lifetime of family first that only seemed to apply when I was the one giving. "Actually," I said, standing slowly, my voice surprisingly steady, "I'd like to make a toast too." My mother's smile faltered. My father suddenly found his water glass fascinating. "To family secrets," I said, raising my glass, "and to $60,000 that apparently meant nothing." The room went silent. My moment of truth had arrived. "Emma," my father warned, but I was beyond warnings now. "No, Dad, everyone should hear this." I looked around the table at my relatives' confused faces. "That house Melissa is buying, it's being paid for with my wedding fund. $60,000 I saved for 6 years. Money I trusted my parents to hold for me." Gasps echoed around the dining room. Aunt Sarah's hand flew to her mouth. Uncle Mike set down his fork with a clatter. "That's not exactly," Mom began, her voice strained. "It's exactly what happened," I cut in. 2 weeks ago, I found out my entire wedding fund, given to Melissa for her down payment, without even asking me. Melissa's face flushed crimson. They said you were okay with it. They said it was temporary. I turned to her, surprisingly calm. And you believed that? You didn't think to ask me yourself before taking my money? I didn't take anything, she protested. Mom and Dad offered. It wasn't theirs to offer. The words erupted from me louder than intended. I worked 3 jobs. I lived in that awful apartment with the leaking ceiling. I skipped vacations and new clothes and everything else people my age get to enjoy for 6 years. Grandma Rose turned to my father, her expression thunderous. Robert Taylor, is this true? Dad adjusted his glasses nervously. It's a family matter, Mom. Emma is overreacting. We'll replace the money. When? James asked, speaking for the first time. Before the venue cancels our date in 48 hours? Another collective gasp. The vineyard needs the final deposit in 2 days, I explained, my voice breaking slightly. Or we lose everything. The date, the deposit we already paid, all of it. Well, that's unfortunate timing, Mom said, folding her napkin precisely. But these things happen. Perhaps it's a sign you should reconsider such an extravagant venue. The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Extravagant? I repeated. It's my money. Money I earned. Money you took without permission and gave to your favorite daughter because her needs always come first. That's not fair, Melissa protested weakly. Not fair? I laughed, a hollow sound that surprised even me. Let me tell you what's not fair. Not fair is missing my science award because of your dance recital. Not fair is them forgetting to drive me to homecoming but throwing you a party for making JV cheerleading. Not fair is spending my entire life trying to earn the love and attention you get automatically. I turned back to my parents, and the most unfair thing, I still believed you when you said family comes first. I still trusted you with my money because I thought, just once, you might put me first too. The silence that followed was deafening. Then Grandma Rose stood up, her small frame somehow commanding the room. Robert, she said to my father, her voice steel, your father and I raised you better than this. Mom, you don't understand. I understand perfectly, she interrupted. You stole from one daughter to give to another. In my day, we called that theft. Dad's face paled. It's not theft when it's family. That's exactly when it matters most, Grandma countered. I couldn't stay any longer. The room was suffocating, decades of unspoken resentment hanging in the air like smoke. I'm done, I said quietly, gathering my purse. Done being the responsible one, done putting this family first when I always come last. James stood beside me, his hand steady on my back. Emma, don't be dramatic, Mom said sharply. Sit down and we'll discuss this like adults. I've been an adult for years, I replied, working, saving, sacrificing. It's time you treated me like one. As James and I headed for the door, my father's voice rang out, suddenly desperate. If you leave now, you're being selfish. Family doesn't walk away from family. I turned one last time. Family doesn't steal from family either, Dad. The last thing I saw before the door closed behind us was my mother's shocked face, my father's reddening one, and Melissa's tears. And strangely, for the first time in my life, I didn't feel responsible for fixing any of it. The aftermath was nuclear. My phone exploded with texts and calls, some supportive, others accusatory. Mom left voicemails demanding I apologize for airing family laundry. Dad sent emails with spreadsheets showing how they'd eventually replace my money. Melissa alternated between defensive texts, I didn't know it was your money specifically, and tearful apologies. I blocked them all for 3 days, seeking clarity. On the 4th day, Grandma Rose appeared at our apartment door with a check. "It's not the full amount," she said, pressing it into my hand, "but it's enough for your venue deposit. The rest will come." The check was for $20,000, her emergency fund. "I can't take this," I protested. "You're not taking, I'm giving," she corrected. "Besides, this is apparently how our family works. We bail each other out." Her wry smile softened the sting of her words. Over tea, Grandma revealed things I'd never known. How my father had always favored Melissa because she reminded him of his younger sister who died as a teenager. How my mother's own parents had played favorites, leaving her determined to support the underdog, which in their eyes was artistic, scattered Melissa, not capable, strong me. "They thought you didn't need as much," Grandma explained. "They're wrong, of course. Everyone needs to know they matter." That evening, James and I secured our venue with Grandma's check. A weight lifted, but the deeper wound remained. A week later, Aunt Sarah called. "You should know what's happening," she said. "Melissa returned the house keys. She told the sellers she couldn't take it, knowing how the down payment was obtained." This surprised me. Melissa had never relinquished anything in her life. Then my cousin Jen, who worked at Mom's school, reported that Mom had been overheard crying in the teacher's lounge. "I've lost my daughter, and it's my fault." These snippets reached me through the family grapevine, but still, no direct acknowledgement came from my parents. 3 weeks after the Sunday dinner explosion, an unexpected email arrived from Melissa. "Coffee? Just us, please." Curiosity overcame my hurt. We met at a neutral cafe downtown. "I didn't know," she began immediately, eyes red-rimmed. "I swear, Emma, they said it was their money they were giving me, that they'd been saving for both of us and were just giving me my portion early." I believed her. Melissa had many flaws, but lying wasn't one of them. "When did you find out the truth?" I asked. "That night, after you left." She twisted her napkin. "Everyone started asking questions. Uncle Mike got Dad to admit exactly where the money came from. It was," she swallowed, "humiliating, but not nearly as humiliating as realizing I've been living off your sacrifices my whole life without even knowing it." She slid a folder across the table. Inside was a bank statement showing a transfer of $15,000 to an account in my name. "It's everything I have," she explained. "I'm selling my car for another $10,000. Tyler's parents are lending us the rest for a much smaller house, one we can actually afford." I pushed the folder back. "Keep your money. This isn't about you." "But it is," she insisted. "I've been taking and taking, from you, from them. I never grew up because I never had to. Please, let me do this one adult thing." Looking at her, really looking, I saw something new. My little sister, trying to stand on her own for perhaps the first time. I took the folder. "Thank you." What happened next surprised us both. We talked, really talked, for hours, about our childhood, our parents, the dynamics we'd both been trapped in, how she'd felt simultaneously favored and underestimated, how I'd been both revered and ignored. "They put you on a pedestal," she said, "but they never saw you up there." 2 days later, I received a certified letter. Inside was a cashier's check for $25,000 and a note from my father. "First installment. The rest will follow monthly. This doesn't fix what we broke, but it's a start." No excuses, no justifications, just accountability, something entirely new from Robert Taylor. The money gradually returned. Grandma's contribution, Melissa's savings, my parents' payments. By some miracle, our wedding plans proceeded, though everything felt different now. 2 months before the wedding, Mom appeared at my office, looking smaller somehow. "I've been seeing a therapist," she announced without preamble. "She says I've been compensating for my own childhood by overprotecting Melissa and expecting too much from you." "That sounds about right," I said cautiously. "I don't expect forgiveness," she continued, "but I'd like the chance to earn back your trust. to really see you, Emma, not as the strong one who can handle everything, but as my daughter who deserves better than what we gave you. The wedding proceeded as planned at the vineyard. My parents were present but subdued, honoring the new boundaries I'd established. Melissa served as my maid of honor, her speech a tearful acknowledgement of my strength and our new beginning as sisters rather than rivals. The unexpected twist came during the father-daughter dance. As Dad led me onto the floor, he whispered, "We've set up a trust for you and James, equal to what we've given Melissa over the years. It's not to buy your forgiveness. It's what should have been yours all along." I didn't respond immediately, letting the music fill the silence between us. "I don't need your money, Dad," I finally said. "I just needed you to see me." His eyes, so like mine, filled with tears. "I see you now, Emma. I'm sorry it took losing you to make that happen." As James and I departed for our honeymoon, I realized the greatest gift from this painful journey wasn't the restored wedding fund or even the additional trust. It was the freedom from seeking approval I'd never receive in the old family dynamic. The freedom to be seen, finally, for exactly who I am. It's been a year since that wedding day. James and I used the trust money not for ourselves, but to start a scholarship fund for young women pursuing careers in journalism. My parents attend the fundraisers, a bit uncomfortable, but trying. Melissa and I meet for coffee every Sunday, a new tradition without our parents. She's selling her art now, supporting herself completely. I've started writing again, publishing my first novel about family secrets. The money my parents took was eventually repaid in full, but what I gained was worth far more. My voice, my boundaries, and a family dynamic rebuilt on honesty rather than roles we never chose. Sometimes standing up for yourself means standing alone, at least for a while. But in that solitude, you find your true worth, not as the reliable daughter or the perfect sister, but as yourself, complete and enough. If my story resonates with you, please consider subscribing to this channel for more stories about family dynamics, setting boundaries, and finding your voice. Leave a comment below if you've ever had to redefine what family means to you. Remember, sometimes the family we choose becomes more important than the family we're born into. Thanks for listening to my story.